Hello, my name is Sarah, and I'm a reference librarian at the Cedar Rapids Public Library. You're probably used to our classes taking place inside our technology classroom at the main library. Things are a little different now, but we're still thrilled to be able to offer you quality instruction from the safety of your home. For today's class, we'll be learning about Google Drive. We'll start by talking about the history of Google leading to the development of Google Drive, and then we'll practice. You will need to have a Google account in order to access the Google Drive, but you certainly don't need to have a Google account to take this class. You can either pause the video now and set up a free account, or you can continue to watch this video and decide for yourself at the end. The World Wide Web, or the Internet as we know it today, was developed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1991. Just a few years later, in 1996, Larry Page and Sergey Brin met as PhD students at Stanford University. Both were looking for potential topics for their dissertations, while also being under the pressure to not only publish, but publish enough and prolifically to be cited in other people's work. Page theorized that the World Wide Web worked similarly and therefore could be mapped. When we look at academic citation, we see how one article cites a handful of other articles, and those articles cite others. They theorized that the internet worked the same way, that one web page could link to several other web pages, and each of those web pages would have links to others. This is what eventually became Google Search, though they practiced on the Stanford University website. Google Search is the primary product from Google, but is certainly not the only one. The Google company has a culture that recognizes and rewards employees for working on passion projects, where employees are given an allotted amount of time to work on projects outside the normal scope of their usual work. This is considered innovation time off. Gmail, a product that many of us use today, was a product of that as well. Google Drive was launched in April 2012. This service allows users to create and store files without the need for a home computer and allows for collaboration and sharing. This means that it is cloud-based. That is to say that the information is stored online and not on a direct computer itself. This helps to bridge the economic divide between those who can afford to own a home computer and those who do not. Documents, spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations even can be stored in a digital format online and can be accessed anywhere one has access to the internet. They are also available as apps on Android and iOS devices. Let's get started. One of the easiest ways to access the Google Drive is to log in to your Gmail account. We've already logged into the account set up for this class. You see that this is our Gmail inbox, and to access the other Google products, we bring our cursor all the way over to the far right-hand corner where we see these 9 dots. These are considered the Google apps. This is the gateway to the other Google products. If we left-click, we see that we can now reveal the rest of the Google products. Some of these should be familiar, such as Google Maps, News, and even YouTube. To access the drive, we go down to the bottom left to our triangular-shaped icon. Left-click. This is opening a new tab. This is what the Google Drive looks like for this class so far. We're going to create 4 new documents for it in 4 of the different access points through Google Drive: Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Forms. The first three should look familiar. We'll go up to New to create a new document. And here we have those 4 products we were just discussing: Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Forms. The first 3 should look familiar because they're entirely compatible with Microsoft products. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word, then you can easily use Google Docs. We'll left click on that one. And it's opening up a new document page on a new tab. All of these icons should look awfully familiar to you, especially if you have any other computer use or have used Microsoft Word. All of these icons allow us to edit any sort of text that we're adding to this document. Let's start by naming our document. It currently says Untitled Document in the top left corner. That is the default for the Google Drive products. We'll left click into that box to bring our cursor there. Once it's highlighted in blue, then we can edit. I'm going to simply name this document Today. We'll return back down to our page here. Let's go ahead and write a sentence. Today it is raining. We see here that it has used all of our default settings, the settings that come preloaded with our Google Docs. We are in the Arial font at size 11, and our text color is black. But let's go ahead and change those. We come to the end of our sentence with our cursor, left click and hold, and drag our cursor across till all of our text is highlighted in blue. Once you've highlighted it all, you can remove your finger from the left button and bring your cursor carefully up to our edit features. If we look at our down caret, this will reveal other choices, and you'll notice that that's not the only place. We have our down caret over here, as well as over here. Anywhere there's a caret means that there's other options available to you. But we'll focus on changing our font. I'm going to go ahead and change my font to Times New Roman. Times New Roman and Arial are fairly typical and regularly used fonts. But that's a little small. It's still highlighted, which means I can still edit it. So I'm going to go up here to my font size. It defaulted to font size 11. I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to add a size to it and one more, up to a size 14. I think I'm also going to change the text color. See that it is underlined with black because our text is currently in black. I'm going to left click on that to reveal other choices, and I'm going to change it to blue. I bring my cursor back down to the page here, click out of it, and now all of my changes are already made. You'll notice that I have not saved my work. If you're using another computer-based program like Microsoft Word, you are going to need to save your work regularly. We certainly don't want to lose our work, but this is something special about Google Drive. We have our Docs page right here. I'm going to go over to where it says My Drive, and you'll notice that in all of our available files, PowerPoint presentation that we started with, here is Today. this is the document that we were just editing. It saves automatically. Another new product that you might be interested in will be using Google Sheets. If we left click on that, it'll open a new tab. This might also look familiar, though not as familiar as Docs does. Google Sheets is compatible with Microsoft Excel. It is a spreadsheet program that allows you to keep information organized, whether it be a budget, addresses, or however else you might decide to use it. It also defaults to an untitled spreadsheet, much like the doc. We'll be uncreative and just name it Today. And we'll come back down into our first cell. Let's create a budget. We'll say rent, utilities, and phone. Let's say that these are the three things that we need to be concerned about when it comes to our budget. Our rent is $600. Our utilities are $250, and our phone is $80. Well, you see that these were just in regular numerics. They weren't in dollar values. Let's go ahead and change that. You see we have a lot of editing tools available to us. So let's go ahead and left click in that top one and drag down to highlight in blue. This is just like what we did with our Google Docs when we decided to edit the text and change it into blue. So I have these three cells highlighted, and I have all of these editing features available to us. I can change the font, the size, and the color like I did with the previous document, but that's not a priority today. We're going to look at these number-specific editing tools. The dollar is going to convert our numbers into currency, and because we are in the United States, it's going to default to the US dollar. If I left click on our dollar, you'll see that it changed our numbers into dollar values. Pretty simple. But perhaps this is just too much math for you, and you need to have a total amount. Let's go ahead and highlight these numbers again. We have them now highlighted in blue, again by clicking on the top cell, left click, hold, and we dragged down. And now we're going to take our editing tools all the way to the far right where you see this sigma. The sigma shows us where the different functions are in Excel or in Google Sheets. It allows us to use math equations in our spreadsheet. And because it has a down caret, it has options for us. We click that and we have, well, some options. We're going to start off easy by going sum. That's just going to give us a total. I left click on sum. You can see there that it is adding in the equation or the function into our spreadsheet, and I'm clicking enter on my keyboard because that is correct. Enter. And it gave us an answer here. It has added up these three cells to give us a total of $930 for our budget. Pretty slick. Now, from most month to month, these numbers will stay the same. But what happens if we went on vacation and our electricity bill went down? Let's go ahead and change our utilities for 1 month to 220. I just left click into that cell, retyped, and I'm going to click enter. You see that it converted that cell back into the dollar value, but also changed our answer here because the function still recognizes that whatever is in these three cells is going to be in this one. Again, we haven't saved this one at all, just like we didn't save our Google Docs, because it saves automatically here in the drive. We have our Word document and now our spreadsheet. If you're familiar with Microsoft PowerPoint, then you're also familiar with Google Slides. If we left click on Google Slides, it'll open up a new tab with a new presentation, and again defaults to an untitled presentation. So far, pretty slick. Much like with Microsoft PowerPoint, it starts with a title slide. Let's create a mini presentation comparing rainy days versus sunny days. We're going to add our subtitle, which is better. So here we have our title slide. But this can't be the end of our presentation. Going over here to our left toolbar, which reveals all of the slides that are currently in our presentation. We can add a new slide one of two ways. We can use the mouse and right-click in the empty space, which will reveal a menu to us, and we can click New Slide, or we can go to this plus button. It's going to add a new slide to our presentation. When creating a presentation, it is always a good idea to present an overview to your audience, much like I did at the beginning of our class. This allows the audience to prepare themselves for what's coming up, what they have to expect, and any questions that they might have. Let's go ahead and add our overview. So what is this presentation about? Our presentation today will be fairly simple. Let's go ahead and add another slide. You can pick which way you want to add a slide, either by clicking the Addition button or right-click New Slide. Let's first talk about the merits of rainy days. But because we're going to be listing off good reasons for celebrating rainy days, it might be overwhelming to have it in what's called a text block. It's basically a paragraph of information. Visually, in a presentation such as this, it is easier to read that sort of information when it's in a list format. Let's go ahead and add bullet points to our presentation. We have all of our editing tools here, though the bullet points aren't listed. When you see these ellipses or 3 dots, that's generally a good indication that there is more information to be had. We'll left click on that to see what else is being offered, and we have more options here, like our bullet points. We're going to go ahead and left click on the bullet points. And now we can make our list of good reasons to celebrate rainy days. Here we have 3 positives about rainy days. Let's think about sunny days now. We'll add our new slide, add a title to it. And let's go ahead and add our bullet points again. Remember, they're not listed in our editing tools. You have to go all the way to the end to reveal more. And here they are. Left click. Some good things about sunny days. Here we have 3 excellent reasons to like sunny days. And now we've created a PowerPoint presentation, or rather a Google Slides presentation. You can also use a PowerPoint if you already have that program installed on your computer, and you can upload it into the Google Drive. That's what I did with our Google Drive Basics presentation found at the beginning of this presentation. I'm going to go back to our Google Drive. And again, I did not save the Google slide because it saved automatically. We have a lot of really great documents that were saved for us. And now let's go ahead and think about Google Forms. These first 3 that we covered should sound familiar, particularly if you've used your computer before. Go up to New, Google Forms is a little bit different. Google Forms allows us to create surveys. This is a great way to gather information from others. It's a great way to organize information as well. Again, it defaults to an untitled form. Now, if we were having this class in the library, I would do things a little bit differently, because this is one that can be sent out to others. So I would ask you questions about your visit to the library that day. You see that I am adding a question. Was this class what you expected? Now it's defaulting over to the right here as a multiple choice question. And again, if you see the down caret, that means that there are other options to be had. We left click on the down caret, and we have different types of questions that can be answered. I can choose short answer that would give you enough space to write about a sentence worth of information as a response. I can select paragraph, which allows you to more freely write a response. Multiple choice would be for me to create pre-organized answers, and you'd be able to select one of those. Check boxes, I could write multiple potential answers, and you can select as many that apply. I'm going to go ahead and stay with multiple choice because what I'm asking is really a yes or no question. So yes or no. Google understood that this was going to be a yes or no question. As I typed in one of my answers, it determined that the next logical answer would be no. But this isn't a good enough survey. I want to ask a second question. So I'm going to add another question to this by clicking on Add Question. Again, our plus sign. If we were in the library having this class, I would ask you, what other classes would you like to see offered at the library? And it recognized that it was not a multiple choice question, and it defaulted to paragraph. I agree with this, and so I'm going to leave it as such. This is all I'm going to use for my Google form, although if you were to use this to organize some other event, for example, I've had former students who would use this to organize family gatherings. They would make it a longer survey and include questions such as name, phone number, to help kind of keep track of that sort of information, as well as what days work best for you for a family gathering, what are you going to bring, etc. It allows that information to be organized and stored, and that way you can send this survey on to others and they can respond. To do so, we go up to this button up here at the top where it says send. We will left click on that. And it allows us to put in the email addresses of anyone we are planning to send this survey to or this Google form to. You can add a different message, and then you would click send. Anyone who is receiving this email will receive it in their email with a link to the form. They can then fill out the form even if they don't have a Google account. They can't see the answers, but they can respond to it, and you have access to the answers. If you are receiving answers or responses, they'll be able to be viewed right here. We'll left click on that. We haven't sent this form to anyone, so clearly have not received any responses, but if we did, they would populate or appear right here as they are being answered. Now, it organizes that information into a graph, usually a pie chart. But sometimes that's not the easiest way to look at information. You'll see here that this logo or icon should be a little familiar because it's our Google Sheets icon. If we left click, we have an opportunity to create a new spreadsheet, which we will do so. Google Forms allows the responses that you receive to be converted automatically to a spreadsheet. It's just a little bit easier way of organizing information, particularly if you're trying to plan large events or collect data. It allows all of that data and information to be stored into the spreadsheet, and then you can decide what sort of information should be graphed. We go back to our Google Drive and we see that all of that information has already been stored. Everything is saved right here. But let's backtrack a moment. We said at the beginning of this class that one of the really great things about Google Drive is that it's free. It's an easy way for everyone to have access to documents, to spreadsheets, and any sort of information that can be shared that way. So if you are working on school projects, you can access it at your school library on the school computer, but then you can also access it from a home computer or smart device. However, another really great thing about Google Drive is that it allows you to collaborate or work with others. So if I'm going to go back to my Google document from the beginning of class, let's suppose that this was a document that I was working on with a classmate, a coworker, or a volunteer. I could share this document with them up here in the right-hand corner. Remember, this button said send when we were working with the Google form, but for the other functions, it'll be share. Right now, the setting is that it's private to only me. If I left click on this share button, it brings this up. You can then put in the email address of anyone you want to share this document with. And then you can also choose what sort of editing controls they have over it. If you and a coworker are working on a project together, then you would allow them to edit it. You would put in their email address, and then a button will appear over here on the right-hand side that'll allow you to choose if they can just view it or if they can edit it. The Google Drive then records both of your changes and edits and additions to the document in real time, which means that if you both have this document open at the same time, you will see the other person typing. It can be a little bit strange, but it is also a really great way to work on a project together at a distance. Particularly useful right now. You can also just click this copy link button, which will create a hyperlink to this document. So then you can email it to the other person and they can only see what you're doing. They can't edit it. You might choose to have somebody view what you're working on, but not edit it if it's something that you don't want anything to have changed on. That is also an option to you. But all of this means that Google Drive is a really great resource, a really great free resource in order to create, to collaborate, and to try new things. If you have any questions about Google Drive, please don't hesitate to contact the library. We'd be happy to help you out. Thank you.